What is up, everyone? Welcome back. Another quick video here on the Fantasy Fellowship channel. My name's Kyle. If you guys are new to the channel, definitely subscribe, like the video, all that good stuff. We're going to be going over the NFL Draft ADP, specifically looking at quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. So if you guys care about dynasty content or your best balling or you're just getting ready for the NFL Draft or for fantasy football content, it's a good thing to look at. It's as I record this, it's February 28th, Wednesday evening. The NFL Combine is going underway Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So we're going to get a lot of movement, I would say, in the next week, 2 weeks. And as we enter March here, there's going to be a lot of things happening. So I think it's kind of fun to just frame it here. This pre-Combine, just want to make sure you guys all are aware here. And I did put a link in the description. I'll probably post it in the comments too if you guys want to check it out for yourself and play around with the chart. But NFL Draft ADP, only looking at quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. So here we have, basically position, player, school, height, weight, and then the rank column here. And what I have done is I've taken mock draft databases consensus rankings. If you guys are not familiar with them, it's a fantastic site. And what I like about them and why I use them as my consensus is because they collect all their info and data from other mock drafts and websites. And this is just what everybody has inputted, and it's just kind of a collection of all that data. So this consensus big board of each player's overall ranking was compiled using 110 big boards, 718 first round mock drafts, and 600 team-based mock drafts. So it's just a large sample that kind of gets boiled down into a decent consensus ranking. So number one here, you do have Caleb Williams, and maybe I'm going to kind of just go with the first round talents, and then we'll break it down by position. So first round talents, you have Caleb Williams at quarterback, obviously, Drake May, QB2. Number 2 overall, wide receiver 1 is Marvin Harrison, coming in at number 3 overall. 4th overall, Jaden Daniels, QB3. 5th overall, Malik Neighbors out of LSU, the wide receiver. Georgia tight end Brock Bowers, tight end 1, he's number 6, and then Rome Odunze, wide receiver 3 out of Washington at number 7. I don't know if I can remember a draft where the first 7 players have been fantasy football players, but holy crap, this is quite the year for dynasty players. I don't know if it's ever been done before. 7 skill position players, not a running back at all, but 3 receivers, 3 QBs, and a tight end. Super excited for fantasy football coming up. Now, I don't know if Brock Bowers is going to be a top 6, top 7 pick, but either way, he is the elite stud tight end option in this draft class. So there you go. There's your top 10. And then we'll finish it up with the other first round talents here. Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver LSU. He's the consensus number 4 receiver on a lot of big boards right now, going about 23rd. I've seen him mocked a lot to Buffalo in the late end of the first round. JJ McCarthy, QB4 here out of Michigan, very young, but man, he's moving up people's boards. And the consensus data has him at 24. I've seen a lot of rumors and mocks with him in the top 10, top 12 range. I don't think he's going to go past. If Denver stays put, Denver's, I think, at 12. I think the Raiders are at 13. I think that's the floor for JJ McCarthy. And once we get the numbers here from the combine, he might just be locked into a top 10, top 15 pick. So keep an eye on McCarthy's hype. I'm going to just expand this a little bit here. Keon Coleman, wide receiver 5, 6'4", 215-pound receiver out of LSU. He's the consensus number 5 receiver here. He's ranked 29th. And then there's one more player here in the first round, and that's wide receiver 6, Troy Franklin out of Oregon, 6'3", 187, coming in at number 32. So a lot of Chiefs buzz needing a wide receiver there at pick 32. But let's go ahead and I'm just going to type in QB here on the chart, and I'll review the QBs here for you guys. So Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy. I feel really strong in believing that those guys are first round talents. If I had to set the number at over under for quarterbacks in the first round, I think it's 4.5 right now. I don't know where Bo Nix is going to go, just because there's not a lot of QB needy teams in the back end of the first round. Maybe a team can jump up in the back end of the first round and grab them at the end there, but I'm not sure I feel great about it. So 4 first round QBs, Bo Nix he's the clear QB5, I think, at this point. I've seen Michael Penix at one point, Michael Penix Jr., we'll look at the ADP change at the bottom here of the article, but Michael Penix Jr. was like kind of the QB4 for a little bit here, but he's starting to fall down. His medicals are going to be what everyone's looking for uh, at the combine here. So we'll learn about Michael Penix Jr. this weekend. Spencer Rattler had a really good Senior Bowl. I've seen him kind of moving up boards, and he's kind of settling in here to QB 6-7 range. Michael Pratt, kind of a no-name out of Tulane here, but he impressed. And he's looking strong, and he's probably a top 100 pick, I would say. And then Jordan Travis, FSU, Joe Milton, Sam Hartman. I don't think we're going to need to know any of these bottom names here for fantasy. Like, you're probably not drafting Jordan Travis, Joe Milton, like anybody from QB9 on down. I think the top 8 QBs will be draftable in dynasty formats, but that's kind of where we're at with the QBs and the average draft position. Now we're going to go to running backs. And running backs, very interesting year for running backs. And there's not a single elite, all elite, all around back that we're going to be drafting in the top 5 of our fantasy rookie drafts this year. But there's a lot of like very good niche running backs that, they can either be a really dynamite receiver, or they can, first and second down, they can pound the ball. And a lot of running backs right now are going anywhere in the second to third round range. That's where I've seen the most of these guys ranked. And right now the consensus RB1 is Trey Benson out of Florida State, ranked number 61 overall. And a month ago, when I started looking at the data, it was Blake Corum who was the RB1, but he's starting to fall down a little bit. He's only 5'8". He does have a good weight to him, 213, but a lot of his metrics and things didn't really look all that great on Blake Corum. I know he's recovering from an injury last year, but either way, Blake Corum, the running back number 2, 64th overall. Jonathan Brooks out of Texas, 73rd overall. I think if he didn't tear his ACL, I think he would be, if there was any running back to be a flirt with the first round, it would be him. So I think he is my running back 1 in this class. Hopefully he can come back from that knee injury okay. I don't think his 2024 is going to be anything great for fantasy, but for 2025, I think that's where he's going to step into a starter's role, and he should be the RB1 of this class. And they get a little bit of a gap here. RB4, Braylon Allen from Wisconsin, 90th overall. He's going to light up the combine this weekend. So if you're watching this, Braylon Allen's huge. 6'2", 245. I think he's easily the biggest. I think he's the tallest. He's the tallest running back, and he weighs the most by a good 20 pounds on Audric Estime here. So huge player, really fun. Kind of a hammer type running style. He's not a very good pass catcher, doesn't have a lot of wiggle, and we'll see what his agility looks like at the combine here. But Braylon Allen is a guy that could shoot up draft boards after a really good combine, especially if he runs a fast 40 time. Marquise Irving, Oregon State. He's probably one of the lightest running backs in this draft class. He is a very versatile player, kind of a home run hitter, can catch the ball out of the backfield, not a great pass blocker, but he's scheduled anywhere in that third round at 91 overall. And then we get to some more just like interesting players like Audric Estime out of Notre Dame. He ranked really highly in a lot of my metrics, 5'11", 227, 105 pounds. I think he is a guy that could potentially be a 3-down back. Didn't have to do a lot of that at Notre Dame, but I think he could do it. Will Shipley, I don't know if he profiles as a third down back. I think he can be a third down back, but I don't know if he's a guy that can be a first and second down ball carrier. He's probably more of a 1B in a system. So if someone needs him, to be their third down receiving back that can kind of complement somebody, I think that's where his best role is. A guy that I like a lot, Jalen Wright out of Tennessee. I think this is too low for Jalen Wright. I think he's actually a top 5 running back in this class. 5'11", 210, 121 is his average ADP right now. If you squint, man, he looks a little like Aaron Jones. Just watching him play and what he can do. I think he needs to improve in pass blocking, but what running back doesn't? Jalen Wright, man, he's going to have a hell of a combine. I think he's going to shoot up boards. So 2 guys I think that I really like with the combine blowing them up is going to be Braylon and Jalen. Marshawn Lloyd coming in at number 9, very versatile back. I think he can do it all. 5'9", 210, so he's low and compactly built. A lot of weight there for a 5'9" frame. He didn't have to do a lot, being on Caleb Williams' team last year. I believe he transferred. I can't remember where he played before USC. But I like Marshawn Lloyd. He's a guy that can improve at the combine as well. Dylan Johnson, solid running back here out of Washington, ranked 152. So you got a bunch of guys ranked in the 4th round right now. Marshawn Lloyd, Dylan Johnson, Jawar Jordan. A guy that I think is going to be growing on a lot of people after the combine here is Dylan Lobb out of New Hampshire. Not a 3-down back. He did that at New Hampshire, but he's a tremendous pass catcher. I think he led all the running backs in this draft class. I believe he was the number 1 receiving back with those stats. Cody Schrader out of Missouri. He had one, I think I don't remember where he transferred out of, but he was at a small school, went to Missouri, and he still put up elite numbers here. He's a guy that could be a draft day steal on day 3. Isaiah Davis, small school, but look at his numbers, man. He was dynamite, and his tape is actually really fun if you can find some. Day 3 steal, all these guys down here. Basically, I would say Dylan Johnson might be a day 2 guy, but I think after Marshawn Lloyd, you're looking at all these running backs being day 3 values. Frank Gore Jr., the both Georgia backs, Dejan Edwards and Kendall Milton, Rasheen Ali, Kamani Vidal, small school guys here that can play. We just don't know what they can do at the next level. So these guys are worth taking a stab at. Kendall Milton's big, 6'1", 220. He can run really well. Dejan Edwards is compliment at Georgia. I like both those guys here. Come on down here. Blake Watson, another Memphis running back. They've had a really good run of putting players in the NFL at running back. He's a really good pass catching, kind of explosive, lighter back, but he's very explosive. Michael Wiley, another really good pass catcher, and then a couple guys here at the bottom. So that's your running back outlook. There's just a bunch of like quality, guys to have on your roster probably as your RB2 in the NFL, and they're probably guys that are going to be on our fantasy benches until they get called up for some reason. The wide receiver, this is where it's at. This is easily the best part of this year's draft class for fantasy, and honestly, maybe just for the entire NFL draft as a whole. I know the offensive linemen are pretty good, but I would say receiver is as deep as I've seen it this year. Your top guys, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, 3 studs. You're getting 3 blue chip players. Landing spot almost doesn't really matter. We can nitpick that when it comes to it, but they're both dynamite players. They should be the first 3 players taken in a single QB dynasty draft. After that, there's a lot. I don't know if Brian Thomas Jr. is my wide receiver 4 yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. It's Brian Thomas. I don't think Keon Coleman's my number 4. Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell, Ladd McConkey. But I think for sure you're going to see the top 4 receivers go in the first round, and then there's going to be a surprise or two. There's going to be 5 to 6 receivers drafted first round, whether it's Keon Coleman, who they have at 29. It could be Troy Franklin at 32. I really like Adonai Mitchell at 37 here. I don't think Ladd McConkey's a first round talent, but he could be. Xavier Worthy, another guy that I've seen mocked into first rounds of drafts. So, like I said, you have Marvin, you have Malik, Odunze, and Brian Thomas Jr. Put those guys in the first round. There's going to be at least 1 or 2 more guys, whether it's Coleman, Franklin, Mitchell, maybe McConkey, maybe Xavier Worthy. So a good kind of tier 3 of wide receivers here. And it doesn't stop, honestly. Like Xavier Legette, a 5th-year breakout player, was not something that we love in Dynasty, but he had a really tremendous year. If you watch his tape, you're going to like what you see. And I think his measurables, like we're going to be getting heights and weights on all these guys. Those might change a little bit. I thought Jalen Polk actually looked really, really well next to Odunze in a lot of those games. He's a guy that could move up with a good combine here. Devontae Walker. I mean, you're looking at here from wide receiver 14 all the way to, and we'll go to wide receiver 4. You're looking at 10, 11 receivers that could be drafted in the second round of the NFL draft here. Malachi Corley's moving up boards. Roman Wilson's moving up boards. I'm still not sure on Devontae Walker, but man, lot of if you need a wide receiver, take one round 2. If your favorite NFL team needs one, take one round 2. And we'll move on into the round 3 prospects where there's not as many guys, but Ricky Pearsall is a guy that I've actually seen with buzz into the round 2. Brendan Rice, probably more of a fringe wide receiver or a round 3, round 4 guy. Johnny Wilson, huge, 6'7", 237. He's projected as a top 100 pick. I don't know if he's going to make it. And Jalen McMillan, out of Washington, top 100 prospect. And then after the top 100 or so, that's where we kind of get into these weird spots here. Jermaine Burton, Jamari Thrash, Jacob Cowing, Jalen Wright. Not sure why I have RB8 here. Let me type in wide receiver. No, that's okay. Let's just open this up a little bit here. But Malik Washington is a player that I like a lot. He's a round 4 prospect. Jacob Cowing's a decent slot receiver. Jamari Thrash can kind of do some Tutu Atwell things. Really good field stretcher and blazing speed. Javon Baker, UCF. This is a guy that I've seen moving up boards. He could be a really nice X receiver for anybody. He's in the 4th round range right now. Aeneas Smith, a little bit shorter, but he's got good weight to him. He could be a slot receiver, maybe. Luke McCaffrey of the McCaffreys, of course, 6'2", 195. He's kind of a day 3 guy. And then pretty much, let me just kind of share here. Everybody on this list now is more of a borderline day 3 player here. So Javon Baker could be day 2. Rosemy St. Jackson, I've seen a lot of people like him. Taj Washington actually looks really good. I think I might like Taj Washington over Brendan Rice, honestly, here. We'll have to watch for his name. But just a ton of receivers. But I think the best part of this class, I mean, we're talking about almost 20 receivers being drafted in the top 100 right now with these consensus rankings. So I'm probably going to set that number at about maybe 17, 18 receivers. I bet every other team in the NFL is going to draft, basically 50% of the league is going to have a receiver in the top 100. So fun, exciting group here. But we'll move on and finish up with the tight ends. I don't know if I can search these guys as well, but we'll get to it. I might have to add some more filter abilities to this. But tight ends, let me see here. We'll kind of just find the tight ends here. I'm gonna hit filter here because the tight end class is just not very good. Obviously, you have Brock Bowers, the only tight end that's probably worth drafting. Tight end 1, 6th overall here. If we go down, see, we're gonna have to scroll for a while here to find Jatavian Sanders, the tight end 2. Here he is out of Texas. He goes 48th overall, so he's a mid to late second round pick. I think a team's gonna like him. 6'4", 243. I don't know if he's gonna be fantasy relevant year 1, but he's a guy that could grow into a role, and especially if there's no one above him. But then we have another huge drop off to tight end 3, and that's Cade Stover out of Ohio State. He is maybe a day 2 guy, but probably not. He's looking like the 103 pick, which would put him in the early parts of round 4. So you're talking only 2 tight ends in the top 100. Not a great tight end class by any means. Jaheim Bell, a bit of a project here, 6'3", but 239. A little bit lighter. I like the size. He could grow a little bit. He's a round 4 prospect. Benson not graded out pretty well for me. Kansas State, 122 is his draft ranking here. Theo Johnson out of Penn State. You have Jared Wiley out of TCU at 154. So you're looking at, Bowers round 1, Sanders round 2, maybe not a tight end in the 3rd round. And then day 3, there's just a lot of guys here. Let me see if I can find some more tight ends for you. And I will get this updated here so you can filter by tight end better. But after Theo Johnson, you got Jared Wiley from TCU. Brevin Spanford out of Minnesota. I'm not buying this. He's 6'7", 270, but he's a round 5 tight end. Down even farther, Dallin Holker out of Colorado State. Very productive, doesn't have a lot of great athletic attributes, but he's a round 5, 6 player out of a small school. AJ Barner might be nice. Not a super exciting guy, but maybe he's like an Austin Hooper type, a decent blocker here. He's a 6th round pick. Eric All out of Iowa. A lot of people like his athleticism, 6'5", 250, 6th, 7th round pick. Tip Raymond, decent blocker out of Illinois. Tanner McLaughlin out of Arizona, 6'5", 245. Again, just round 7 tight end. So overall, not the best tight end class. Okay running back. I think the running class is overrated. I think once we get their landing spots, we're going to get excited about some of the running backs. And then obviously, we're going to be drafting a lot of receivers and those 5, 6 quarterbacks that we mentioned. So there you have it, the NFL Draft ADP before the combine. So check it out, fantasyfellowship.com. Thank you guys for your time. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're new, check out the Patreon, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.